Peter Rabbit is today's story, and here's something kind of funny. This book was mine when I was a little girl about your age, and I actually got it in my Easter basket from the Easter Bunny. So let's listen closely to the story about Peter Rabbit. Peter Rabbit by Jack and Louise Meyers. Once upon a time there were 4 little rabbits. Their names were Flopsy, Mopsy, Cottontail, and Peter. They lived with their mother in a grassy bank beneath the roots of a very big fir tree. "Now, my dears," said Mrs. Rabbit one morning, "you may go into the fields or down the lane, but don't go into Mr. McGregor's garden. Run along now and don't get into mischief. I am going out." Mrs. Rabbit took her basket and went through the woods to the baker's to buy a loaf of brown bread and 5 currant buns. Flopsy, Mopsy, and Cottontail were good little rabbits. They went down the lane to gather blackberries for supper. But Peter, who was very naughty, hopped straight to Mr. McGregor's fine garden and squeezed under the locked gate. He ate some lettuce and beans and radishes. Then, feeling rather sick, he looked for some parsley. But whom should he meet but old Mr. McGregor? Mr. McGregor jumped up and ran after Peter, calling out, "Stop, thief!" Peter was frightened. He ran all over the garden looking for the gate. He lost one of his shoes among the cabbages and the other shoe among the potatoes. Then Peter caught the buttons of his jacket in a gooseberry net. It was a blue jacket with big brass buttons, quite new. When some friendly sparrows heard Peter crying, they begged him to try to get away before Mr. McGregor caught him. Mr. McGregor was just about to pop a sieve over Peter's head when Peter wiggled out of his jacket and dashed away. He rushed into the tool shed and hid in a can. It would have been a good place to hide if there had not been so much water in it. Kerchoo! Presently Peter sneezed, "Ka-choo!" and Mr. McGregor was after him again in no time. Up and down and all around the garden they ran. At last Mr. McGregor gave up and went back to his work. Peter saw a door in a wall, but he was too fat to squeeze under it. He asked a mouse the way to the gate, but she had a large pea in her mouth and didn't answer. Soon Peter came to a pond where a pretty cat sat staring at some goldfish. He went on without speaking to her, for he had heard about cats from his wise little cousin, Benjamin Bunny. Suddenly, quite close to him, he heard the scritch, scratch of Mr. McGregor's hoe. Peter hid under a bush, but as nothing happened, he came out and climbed onto a big wheelbarrow. The first thing he saw was Mr. McGregor hoeing onions. Beyond him was the gate. Peter got down very quietly, ran to the gate, and squeezed under it. Then he ran as fast as he could into the woods. Mr. McGregor hung up Peter's jacket and shoes as a scarecrow to frighten the blackbirds. Peter never stopped running until he reached his home in the big fir tree. He was so tired that he flopped down on the soft grass and shut his eyes. His mother was busy cooking. She wondered what he had done with his clothes, for it was the second little jacket and pair of shoes he had lost in a week. Peter did not feel a bit well that evening. His mother put him to bed. She made some chamomile tea and gave a spoonful of it to Peter. But Flopsy, Mopsy, and Cottontail had bread and milk and fresh blackberries for supper. Today you'll be able to go to the link so that you can make your own Peter Rabbit when he tries to crawl underneath Mr. McGregor's gate. So here's the pattern that you will find at the link. And when you're done, it will look like this. It looks like the behind of a bunny going under Mr. McGregor's gate. It's cutting out a circle, cutting out the 2 feet, and you can color them with crayons or markers if you'd like. And then I added a cotton ball for the bunny tail, but I also have a pattern on my sheet where you can just cut out a circle if you'd like. And hey, if you don't like a white bunny, you can make it any color you want. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye!